Hi, and welcome to the podcast. Welcome to Kitchen Conversations. We've got just one goal with this podcast, and that is to inspire one person per episode to pick up a paddle and try the game for the very first time. And we think the family that you're about to meet will help inspire you to be that person. The Kawamotos are known within the local pickleball community as being the nicest people in pickleball, and you're about to find out why. I sat down with Linda, Matthew, Jessica, and Stephanie, and we had a great chat about the game, their passion, their professional careers, and so much more. I hope you enjoy meeting them as much as I did on this episode of Kitchen Conversations. Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to my little podcast. Welcome to Kitchen Conversations. And let me start by telling you just how thrilled I am to see all of you lined up and ready to talk to me this morning. So welcome, everyone. Welcome.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks so much for having us.
Oh, yeah. Well, we've got Linda, and we've got Matthew, and we've got Jessica, and we've got Stephanie. So who are we missing? Who else is part of the family?
We're missing our other sister, Ellen, and our dad, Tom. They're not here today. And then most of us have partners that also play pickleball, but they're not here either.
Yeah. Do you have a family bus? You must. Yeah, to get you around.
Our van holds 7.
Okay, well, it's close. That's half the gang anyway.
So 6 with all the pickleball stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, I just love it. Well, listen, it goes without saying, and those watching and those listening today will certainly know your family name. I mean, the Kawamotos are just, so tied to the game of pickleball. And I think I've read more than once, and I've been told more than once, you are by far and large the nicest family in pickleball. And so it's well earned, and I'm just excited to have a chance to finally say hello and to finally meet. And Matthew, I think you might be the only sibling that I've ever kind of seen in person. I think you were down at KPC one day playing in a relatively competitive game with Ryan Haynes and some of his gang. And
I think so.
I was just, taken by your skill. It was just something else. And I think when you walk in the building, there's an elevated sense of excitement. People are walking around the halls whispering, Matthew's here. Matthew's in the building. I'm like, of course, I'm a new player. I'm like, who's Matthew? Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. I don't know who this guy is, but he's pretty popular. So, so that was sort of my only connection to you.
A few friends, and they were just like, everyone's saying hi to you. Like,
who are you? Yeah, who's this rock star? Yeah, it's great. Well, listen, I've got so much to talk about today, and I've got lots of time. So I'm on your clock. So you tell me when you've had enough of me, because I'm certainly not going to get tired of talking to you today. So thanks again. Linda, I'd really like to start with you if you don't mind this morning. I really appreciate you being part of this today. When I look at the game and I go back in the history of the game, and we go back to that summer in 1965, on Bainbridge Island in Washington, and we think about the 3 guys that were ultimately involved in creating this wonderful game. It was Joel Pritchard and, of course, Bill Bell and Barney McCallum. And that story is relatively well known to most pickleball players, which I think is terrific. I think the legacy of the game, the importance of the game is paramount. And I talked to Steve Peranto, the Hall of Famer, a couple of days ago, and we talked about the importance of that. And that very first tournament that he played in 1976, and you're going to love this. I don't know if you knew this. I didn't. But that game was actually played on carpet. That was the court. Yeah, it was literally carpet. And so Steve shared some of his thoughts and feelings on that. But the legacy of the game is really something. And Linda, the reason I wanted to start with you is, obviously you've gotten the kids involved in this as a sport. And that really was sort of the nucleus for the game. I mean, the kids on Bainbridge Island were driving mom and dad crazy. They were bored. And so they took that old court and a couple of ping pong paddles, and they kind of slowly but surely developed this game. And they came up with a kitchen, and, it took time, and it finally evolved. So can we start with your story about getting all the kids involved and getting the family involved, and just take your time with this? I'd love for you to just run with the story of how this became such an integral part of what you guys are doing as a family.
So 2014, I was playing advanced ladies tennis with a girlfriend who went out west. She had neurological damage in her arm, and she came back home and said, we're going to start playing pickleball instead. So get a paddle and join Pickleball Hamilton. I paid over $100 in 2014 for this paddle that I'm not even sure I'm going to like the sport. I chose it by grip size. I didn't know anything about paddles, but tennis grip size is very important. If the grip's too big, you're throwing your paddle, your racket. So I joined Pickleball Hamilton, and she said, oh, the place they're playing is too far from me. I'm going to play at Gretzky Center. in Brantford. It's like, what are you talking about? You made me buy this $100 paddle. So I go out. I'm kind of introverted at that time, and play the first night. The guy says, "You don't belong here. This isn't a beginner's night." By the end of the night, I was one of the best women, only because we had played tennis. So I come home. Ellen's at McMaster, and I said, "It's so much fun. You got to come with me next week." So Friday night was pickleball night. She'd come in every week with me. Jessica was at University of Waterloo. When she came home, it's like we brought her the occasional time because she didn't come home every weekend. That was great. I played my first tournament in 2014. One of the guys, because I was over 50, asked me to play. His wife was under 50. So my first tournament was that year as well. For my birthday, I asked everyone to play pickleball. So we go to the local court and play. Tom wipes out. He does not want to play. So blood all down his arm and everything. So anyways, 2 years later, our bubble closes for tennis. So Tom says, "Okay, I'll try it again." By this time, Steph and Matt has started playing, and they like, "Ooh, this is pretty good." So Tom's converted completely. He plays practically every day. Today he's playing 5 hours because he's taking my 2-hour session this morning and playing his 3-hour session after. But I mean, so the whole family loves it. Right from the beginning, I think everybody just took to it because it's just
except that, yeah,
except that. But so yeah, that's the story and getting everybody in.
Well, what a great story. It's not unique in a sense that, I mean, it's unique in the sense that you've got the entire family involved, but how you became addicted so quickly is certainly one of them. It's kind of a moving target for me. I call it the magic moment because volunteering at the club, I had the chance to bring people into the game for the very first time. And I would always say, kick off your shoes. We'd answer their questions because there's lots of questions, blah, 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 blah. And we get through that stuff because that's the boring stuff. We'll deal with that later. But getting them on that court for the very first time in their sock feet, usually, because they wouldn't come with indoor shoes, but I wasn't letting them out the door without getting them on that court because I knew if I did that I would convert somebody. I had every confidence at the very moment they hit their first dink or, return that ball over the net that they were hooked. And it was always great because you could just tell, Linda, that the husband usually was the one fighting it. The husband was like, but he was there because the wife said, "Get in the car."
It was my birthday. It was my birthday present, so he had to go. Like,
everybody get in the car. We're going to play pickleball. This is about me, not about you. But that moment, I just loved it. I just so loved that moment because you could see it developing and the face muscles would literally change from a frown to a smile. And I knew in that moment that we had them. And so as we left that part of the building, and we got back to the front desk, it'd be like, "Okay, how do I sign up? And how does membership work? And how do I book a court?" And, all that kind of stuff. So what a great starting story. What a great starting story. Thank you. I just love it. So on the heels of all of that, um, can each of you, Matthew, Jessica, Stephanie, can each of you take a turn and just kind of tell me what do you remember about first stepping on the court? What's your fondest memory of the first couple of games that you played with your folks?
The first time I stepped on the court, I finished third year at University of Ottawa, came back here for the summer.
Yeah.
And I swung and missed.
Hold on. This may be a breaking news story. No, I think this could make it on Sportsnet. Matthew Kawamoto whiffed a ball. Literally swung like a full swing and a miss, not even a tick.
Yeah, because we were used to playing tennis, the ball bounces so much higher. So
sure.
I was waiting for that ball, and it just dropped right under.
Matthew, have you told many people the story? We may want to edit this out. It could. You may not get drafted next year. Like, I don't want that responsibility. So you think about that. Yeah, I'm glad you shared it with me. I'm not sure you want to share it with the world. It's great. Great story. So anyhow, you missed that ball, but I don't imagine you missed many after that.
No, then some of the club members, Ron, John, Marilyn, Rick, Valentina, they all took us under their wing and really helped us learn the game, learning the dinking and the soft game. Back then, technology wasn't as big, so the soft game was super, super important and still is. But then we took off and burned out my tennis shoes within a month.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, but it was instant for you, was it? I mean, despite that embarrassing whiff, which we'll probably talk about several times this morning, because I'm thrilled that you shared that. I'll probably just keep bringing it up to drive you crazy. That's just what I do. Yeah. So you were hooked, Matthew. I mean, obviously it was something that you felt, yeah. How did you feel the game compared to tennis? I mean, as a guy that came out of a non-racket background, I was a golfer, and at that, a pretty terrible golfer. So, when I came onto the pickleball court, I couldn't really draw from a table tennis background or a squash background, and you would know that immediately. Even today, watching me, you'd say, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But, I mean, I think those that come from a racket sports background, certainly, at least in my humble opinion, my social level opinion, I think have a slight advantage over those of us that haven't played. You've got the sweeping stroke, you understand angles better. So what are your thoughts on that coming into the game? It must have been a pretty quick transition from that into pickleball.
I fully agree. After I missed the one, yeah. I mean, I didn't miss many after that, and the hand-eye and the coordination transfers over really easily.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, it's interesting. We'll talk a bit more about that hopefully in a couple of minutes. But Jessica, what's your recollection of that first step onto the court?
Well, I was just going to say for Matt, he had his first tournament, I think, a month in.
Wow, really?
And he played the 4.0 plus, which is at that time was like the highest category, and got silver. So he's just talented, but also racket sports help a lot.
No kidding. So he goes from whiffing to winning. Maybe that should be the title of the podcast. From whiffer to winner. From whiffer to win. I like that. From whiffer to winner. Maybe we'll run with that.
I just got to tell you a little bit about that tournament that he played. So this was in London. He played with Pam Taylor. And yeah. So it was in a hockey arena, but these two guys were diving all over. But Matthew doesn't dive as much because his anticipation of where the ball is has improved so much. He still does dive. He does the around the post, change of hands, that kind of thing. But that tournament, it was crazy. Both of those two guys were all over the floor. Like it was so exciting. It was so exciting.
Well, and maybe that's part of the strategy. If you're running around in circles, the guys on the other side of the net are just getting dizzy. What is happening over there? Yeah. Hey, whatever it takes, as long as it's legal and falls within the rules of the game, I'm fine with it. So I don't think there are any rules with running in circles. I've never read that. So yeah. Great, Jessica. Thanks for adding that. That's a great point. I didn't realize that. So yeah. So let's get on to your story. What happened the first time you stepped on a court?
I don't remember.
Oh, really?
I know, right? For me, it's probably been 10 years, maybe a little bit more. So I don't remember. I think I got hooked really fast.
Well, it was easy. It was easy for you.
Yeah, just learning the soft game, right? That's the hard part.
Which we didn't at the beginning, because coming from tennis, you're just banging, and it's like, oh, it's okay. We can bang and win,
Yeah, well, it's interesting to watch the tennis players. When I play a lot of social events, because that's, frankly, just where I'm comfortable. And I mentioned earlier in the podcast, I absolutely love people. And so that's where I get to meet my people, and I get to chat courtside, in between rallies. And when I see somebody new show up for a social event and they step on the court, and I, of course, never played with them or against them, immediately, they just don't leave the baseline. I'll often ask them, would you like a chair? Because, you're just sitting back there banging away, so, and it's fun to watch them develop, though. It's fun to watch them understand the game, because I say there's a huge benefit perhaps to having a tennis background or a squash background or what have you in any racket sport. But I think one of the struggles that tennis people have is that they're predictable. They're so predictable because they're not hitting a soft shot. They might surprise you with a lob every so often, but for the first little while, until they recognize, Matthew, to your point earlier, the importance of that soft game, which is still part of it, not as much as perhaps it was even, say, 3 years ago. But I love that part. So yeah. So Jessica, there was no sort of burning memory in your mind. You didn't whiff a ball. Obviously, you're far better than your brother.
Either that or I blocked it out.
Yeah, well, we do that with memories that we don't want to think of. Matthew should maybe practice that a little bit. So, yeah, because I think not once, I'm not counting Matthew, but twice now you've mentioned it yourself, and I think I've mentioned it 4 times now. So we're going to get to 11 before we know it. We're going to whiffing, yeah. Yeah, for sure. Stephanie, how about you? I love your shirt, by the way. I want to point that out.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're the only one that dressed appropriately for the podcast, by the way. Me included. So way to go. What's your story? What are you doing with the game right now? And what's your recollection of that first couple of games?
I don't remember the first couple of games. I think I found it fun, but didn't get serious right away like everyone else. And then Matt and I started going to drop-ins in Ottawa and different Ottawa Pickleball Association locations, and just, started slowly. And then it would be in the same gym as Matt, but I would be playing on a lower court, and everyone's going, "Wow, your brother." Like, I know, he's good. Just want to point out, Stephanie has worked her way up to a 5.0 in pickleball.
Stephanie. Wow.
Yeah.
We're going to run through all of that. Yeah. I want to get an update on everything for sure. Yeah. Well, I also find it kind of interesting because I'm often accused of not having the best memory as a man, but clearly Matthew and I are doing okay here. The girls can't remember anything. So it's like, I just want to mark that on the calendar. We did better than the girls. So score is 1-0 for us right now. So yeah. Well, listen, from here, let's chat a little bit about where each of you are today within the game and within the pro level. And Linda, you'd mentioned when we first started, in behind Jessica, you've got some sponsorship, and so I'm just going to let you run with all of that. Let's talk about where you are professionally in the game today, and the sponsorships and the professional league, the CNPL, and just chat about that for a bit with me, if you don't mind.
So I'll talk about the sponsorships, so you guys can talk about where you are professionally. Does that sound okay?
Sounds perfect.
So super exciting. 2018, we 5 of us go down to the U.S. Open in Naples. Not me, I had to work. Stephanie's a teacher, so she couldn't get the time off that year. So 2018, the triplets. So Jessica, Ellen, Matthew are triplets. They brought 8 medals. The exciting part was we got our Engage pickleball sponsorship prior to going down. Matthew and Ernesto Fugero end up playing our owner, Rob Elliott, and his son, Josh, and beating him, which was beautiful because this is the first time we've ever met the owner of Engage. So that was really exciting, and it's a family sponsorship. So all 6 of us are sponsored. So, I mean, me, old lady, and Dad, like, we still have our sponsorship. When Tyrell shoes came out, Matthew is he tries out the shoes before they go on the market and tells them, good or not. So the whole family is sponsored with Tyrell pickleball shoes, which is beautiful. They're great shoes.
You also know, though, the owners, the wife used to play in Waterloo with us, and then the husband got into it as well. So you and Dad go up to see them.
We go up and they come down from Huntsville. Yeah, the Huckles. So anyways, beautiful couple. And then Kling is owned by Lily Brown. She came to the house 2 Christmases ago, met the whole family, her and Mike, and sponsored the whole family and partners at that time as well. So Kling compression is great. Pants, socks. Matthew, you'll see him in a lot of Kling shirts rather than the Engage shirts. They're so comfortable, as well as dry fit, and just they look nice on him too. It's exciting for the whole family to have a sponsorship, because generally most of us aren't that level to get the sponsorship, but it's because of these 2, mainly Matthew initially, but now Matthew and Jessica.
Now she kicks my butt.
I wish.
So now you guys can talk about your CNPL.
Well, if we're talking about CNPL and kicking my butt, last year we faced up in the Montreal event, and my teammates included, won't let me forget that she went for an Ernie and body bagged me at the same time.
Ooh. That might be slightly worse than whiffing the ball. Your sister body bags you on an Ernie? Wow.
And says sorry.
Yeah. Sorry, not sorry. Yeah. Were you what were you thinking? Were you daydreaming or just not paying attention, or she's just that good?
She's just that good.
She's just that good answer. Great answer, by the way.
Tall. Yes. He's 4'11" and 3/4.
Not even.
Well, maybe you can't. Yeah, she's that. Maybe you don't see her coming. She's below the net. Maybe that's part of it. It's like a stealth attack. Here I come, Jessica's stealth attack. The Ernie. Yeah, maybe we should rename it from Ernie to Jessica's stealth attack or something. Yeah, JS. Call it the JSA. It might sound better. I like that. Jessica's stealth attack. Yeah, we're gonna change the game today. I didn't realize that, but I think we are. We are. Wow. So Montreal was interesting. And how did it go after that moment?
The season was fun. I was on Team Toronto United. In the playoffs, we had our chance to beat the defending champs, Montreal, in the semifinals, and ended up losing in the tiebreaker 21-20, and then came back up from the bottom bracket, lost again in the finals. So we took second last year.
Okay, good. Good. Tell me, before we get too much further, can you, maybe those listening, might be scratching their head and going, what the heck is a CNPL? Do you want to just give me a broad sense of what the league is all about and some of the structure within it? You don't need to go into a ton of detail, but just maybe for the average listener today that's tuned into the podcast, give me a sense of what the CNPL really is.
The CNPL is the Canadian National Pickleball League. It's a professional league across Canada. It first started drafting only Canadian citizens and Canadian players to help grow the level of us and help develop the game in Canada. Last year, it put in place you can have one international player, and under 16s were allowed as well. So then the quality of the game with one international player and the other Canadian players who have developed has increased the quality of play dramatically.
Yeah. When did the league start, Matthew? Do you remember the year it kind of came into being?
We've played 3 years, so that would be 2023.
Right. And are the teams independently owned then by certain businesses or enterprises? Is that how it kind of works, or very much like major sports?
They are independently owned. Not sure the cost of a team. Some of them, like Jess's first year, she played on Corey Osborne and Rob Krismanich's team, and then they weren't owners in the second year, so
we got bought out.
They got bought out again.
Rebranded. But there's 8 teams, 6 players on a team, so there's a good spread of players to kind of get your shots against and see how you do against different styles. Yeah.
It uses rally scoring, which is interesting. For those who don't know rally scoring, the right side player and the left side player stay on their own side of the court. So you can still stack, but with the scoring, it just goes back and forth. And I personally don't like it as much. I'm a player who I believe you should be able to play on both sides of the court or find a strategy where stacking comes into play. So where people can just solidify their strengths and stay on whichever side they're comfortable with, I don't like it as much.
Yeah, I would say most people I play with don't like rally scoring, but we do it in certain ladder events and things just to kind of keep the pace of play going. And, it's interesting that way. But yeah, people seem to fight it because I know as soon as that segment of the morning is over, say it's a Saturday morning, we're doing this little ladder thing with rally. The moment we're just blending and mixing again, we're right back to regular scoring. Everybody's done with rally. I'm done with that. Let's move on to, now we can play real pickleball. So it's interesting. Yeah.
It changes the game a lot.
Yeah. Does it, Jessica? In what way?
Yeah, so seeing it in CNPL, because every single point matters, especially with the first year where people are kind of feeling it out more, you see serves aren't as hard. People are just keeping the ball in play a lot more and not going for as much because you're losing a point if you're going to miss, right? So it's a lot more about consistency and like smart aggression, but not as much about just like going all out for certain shots that people might normally go for when you just like might lose first serve and go to second serve if you would play normal side out scoring, right? So it changes the game a lot. I think I don't like it as much either, but for our style of game, I think it's better for us because we're more consistent, steady players. But yeah, it's interesting. It's a very different game, I think.
Yeah, great point. I wasn't thinking about that serve. I mean, that's really the only moment in the game where you as the server control every element of that. Like you're not reacting in that moment. You're initiating. And so, it's much like golf. Someone said the greatest thing about golf is the ball doesn't move till you make it move. And so you're in total control of every single shot. Whereas in a game like pickleball, it's very much reacting to what the other side of the net has now done. And yet, in the moment of that serve, and you see it, we see it at the social level where people are trying these crazy spin serves and they're just trying to get an ace. And
Yeah.
they might get, okay, so you got one ace a year. Like you're missing eight in a row, and Buddy doesn't seem to want to adjust it. He's like, "Oh no, when this thing's working, it's a killer." And I'm like, "It's killing you." Like, yeah. I just love to sit there and watch them, and I go, "Why does he keep doing that?" And it's usually, by the way, with all due respect, a he, not a she. The she's figured out quicker than the he's. I'm like, "This isn't working." So, you can actually check your watch when Ron is on the other side. Now he is not getting it in the box. It's not in the box. So it's interesting. So, and Stephanie, you're not involved in the CNPL at this point?
No, I tried out the first year, I think, and I was a spare, but I'm not. Yeah, it's not really my thing. Like I love going to watch, I love supporting, but playing in that kind of high pressure environment is not so much my thing. So
She does do a lot of tournaments though and enjoys it. And she has grown a pickleball club at her school where she teaches.
Nice.
So very cool.
Well, listen, Stephanie, as a teacher, you can't save the world and be a pro pickleball player. You can only wear one cape.
I gotta choose.
It's you can only be one superhero. So be the classroom superhero. Yeah, I advocate for that. Like this is just a silly game with a wiffle ball. You're actually making a difference in people's lives. So true.
The kids
I mean, let's be honest. I've got a son that's going to be a teacher, so I'm going to advocate for that pretty heavily. Yeah, absolutely. Well, good for you. Linda, I have a question. I don't know if this is a rumor or it's true. When we talk about you attending the kids' games and cheering them on, was there a story? Is there any truth to the pom-poms and you had different colored pom-poms? Is that just a rumor or is there a real story?
So Jessica, Ellen, and I make from a metallic curtain pom-poms. So we do a color. I mean, Matthew's great. He's been on the same team. So green. Jessica has gone from blue to red, and we just finished making the purple pom-poms. Let me just go grab it. Well, these are the purple ones because Jessica's changed teams this year to Northern Lights. So yeah, we just give them to all the spectators and try and get the crowd going so that everyone's cheering for our two teams.
Well, yeah, nothing like a pom pom and a cowbell to get things going, I guess. So,
the best is when there are two courts going and there's a timeout here. Mom goes over,
Right.
does her cheer for the crowd. Timeout there. She runs over, puts on the other jersey.
It's crazy when they're playing two different courts at the same time. It's just like
she gets more steps than all of us.
Yeah, your Fitbit's saying, "Sit down, Linda. You've done enough. Sit down. Stop moving." Yeah, 20,000 in one day is just more than enough for you. Yeah. Oh, that's a great story. Well, I'm glad I asked because someone had mentioned that when I mentioned I was talking to you, of course, they were like, "Oh my gosh, you're so lucky." And I acknowledged that, but they also said, make sure you ask about the pom-poms and mom cheering everybody on. Has there been a moment when the kids have competed against one another and therefore do you have one in the left and one in the right? How do you deal with that?
Yep, I do. And then just try and get cheer one and then cheer the other. Timeout for 1 minute. It's really hard to get both cheers in. So we do it.
Yeah, and usually distracted Aunt Margaret's going, Linda, start the cheer.
So my sister is very much a groupie for these guys. She'll fly to Edmonton. She wants to go to BC with us, and so she's very much into cheering too. But I have the louder voice than her.
Oh yeah.
Well, I remember when both the boys played volleyball and basketball, and it really ended in a hurry. And so I'm envious of you, Linda, that you're able to carry this on later in life with the kids and to be part of that because I don't mind admitting this. Matthew, if you'll admit to whiffing, I'll admit to crying. So I did. I cried. I cried at both of the boys' last game in high school because I knew they weren't going to go on to university, varsity, or they're just going to play recreationally. And it's awkward if your dad shows up at your university pickup game on a Tuesday night. It's just Kids don't want you to do that. So I threatened. I said, I will drive from Kingston to Ottawa to watch you play pickup volleyball. Dad, don't you ever walk in there to watch me. They wouldn't even tell me where they played. But yeah, I mean, that last game for me as a parent, Linda, really, to be honest, and I think you can appreciate this, I'm so proud of the kids, and they became great people. And I think sport lent itself to that. I think they would not be the same people they are without the sport. And I'm sure you would echo that with your kids today, without pickleball and sports and that community and the focus that you need to be a great player. I think, yeah. So I did cry. I did cry at the last two games because we knew it was a final game, and that was going to be the last time that my wife Frances and I could sit in the gym, on the bleachers and watch the boys play. So yeah, it was a tough moment. So let's wrap up the conversation around the league. And what else would you share with the listener today, Matthew, Jessica, Stephanie, Linda, like any of you? What are your thoughts on the league? And is it something that more of us recreational players should be paying attention to? Should we be getting out and watching the games? How can we support the league, and how can we get our own, how can we get our cheering section going here as casual players?
I think it would be amazing for more people to start coming out and watching the game and just supporting it. It really shows the quality of play in Canada and where we've come to. The US obviously started way before Canada and they have a lot more people, so the quality of play there, the top pros, not many of us, none of us, I don't think, would be able to keep up with the top pros down there. But yeah, the quality of play in Canada is exceptional, and we need more support for sure.
Well, it's not just the support for players that are not your level. Well, even your level, watching other players, you learn so much, or you have the drive to, I want to learn that shot. And that's something you take back to your club and you work on that shot. And, oh, I mastered that, whatever that player did. Or sometimes you may have a favorite. There's people that come up to these guys. Can I get your picture with you? Because they see you on YouTube. They see you playing in real. And it's like they started to admire some of the Canadian players or the people in the Canadian League.
Oh, I didn't realize you were this short.
I used to look up to you. Now I look down to you. Yeah.
I actually do have a lot of people that come up and say they love watching me because I'm so small. They're like, I'm short too. I love seeing that like short people can actually do well.
So I don't think height and weight necessarily, and physicality and experience necessarily, there's no guarantee from that. There's a lot of variables that can come into that. So yeah, it's interesting. Great stuff. I love it. Well, the league is great. I think that, we need to get the message out about that a little bit more. And it's just not something, and I say this with the utmost respect to you as players and competitors and part of all of this, but not a lot of the people I play with talk about the Canadian National Pickleball League. Everybody's focused on the PPA and, and they're talking about Ben Johns and that other girl. I can't remember her name, but I guess she's pretty good.
Natalie
Plays with
Waters.
her a lot. Oh, is that who it is? Yeah. I couldn't remember her name. ALW, some acronym there. Yeah, I hear she's pretty good. I think if she keeps trying, she'll get there. I really do. But yeah, it's funny. We seem to focus on that, but we're in a moment right now, to have a sober thought here. We're in a moment right now as a country, and the world's in a mess right now. It really is. And so this whole elbows up attitude and the whole idea of getting behind Canada and, speaking the truth about our great nation. I'm going to be talking to two Canadian paddle manufacturers here in the next little while, and they're family-owned businesses, and they're trying really hard to get their paddles into the market. And it's challenging when we're cheering for one side or the other. And I just think pickleball has a role to play in that. So I think we need to get behind the league. I think we need to get more of us rec players paying more attention, becoming fans, following you, asking for pictures, pointing out how short you are, things like that. So yeah, that'll be great. So, well, good. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on with respect to the league before we kind of move on to maybe the next topic?
They've started televising it.
Oh, have they, Stephanie? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what channel because I usually watch on YouTube, but usually there are two courts going. One's a YouTube court, one's a TV court. So people can start watching on TV.
Nice. Yeah. And maybe that's part of it too, right? Access to it would be better than, yeah. I have one final question. Tell me about the season and tell me about the draft so that we can kind of get our head wrapped around that, and then we can move on to some new things. But when does the season officially begin? When does it end? And how does the draft process work in this league? What's the steps that you have to go through?
Yeah, the season usually runs about May to September, end of September, somewhere around there. There's a varying number of events depending on the year. So I think this year there might be 6 events plus the finals. And then once the season's done, there's a period where teams can re-sign players. And then last year they introduced this new free agent period, so you could potentially pick up somebody new as a free agent, and that's usually maybe October, November, somewhere around there. And then in January the draft happens, and that's a snake draft. We've got 8 teams, I think, based on some kind of seeding from the previous year determines the order, and then they'll fill out their ranks and get their 6 players.
Wow. How stressful is that, Linda, as like, from your perspective as a mom, when that moment's coming, like it's draft season, is that kind of a sleepless kind of time?
Well, it was terrible this year. I mean, because the unexpected trade happened within half an hour for Jessica, from London Smash to Northern Lights. It was like a phone call that happened between 5:30 and 6 o'clock. So we're watching the draft, not knowing at this time that she's been traded. She didn't know she was traded, and then yeah, so that it's nerve wracking. It's actually really terrible. But I just wanted to talk about the events. The events, it's like a league. If you play baseball, you play every week. The event is a weekend where all the teams play each other, or the Eastern teams or the Western teams. So it's not a tournament style. Like, I mean, you may have winners at the end, but it gives you your standings for the league. And then you have finals at the end and your championship game at the end. And the championship game is actually what determines the rest of the league. I mean, the standings for the CNPL league, right? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then before the draft, there are qualifier tournaments that happen in different cities. And that's like a team tournament style event where just a team of 4 will go and play kind of a CNPL type thing where it's a men's doubles, a women's doubles, 2 mixed doubles. And then signing up for those, you can also sign up for the draft.
And then owners will come to those events to, start thinking of who they want to pick for the draft, and even talk to people at that time, because personality is very important, for more so for some teams than other teams, rather than just the level of play, right? So you could be really good, but if you are not very good as personality wise, sometimes you may not get picked.
Yeah, it's funny. I mentioned we had a small business for a number of years, for almost 50 years. We had a small company, and culture was so important to us. We would hire on culture, and we would promote on culture. And yeah, you're right. One rotten apple in the barrel, so to speak. The old saying can wreck the whole batch. So yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, fascinating. Well, thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us that kind of we know about it, but we don't know a lot about it. So I think what we've talked about here in the last little bit will help bring a little light, shed a little light on things, which is terrific. So Linda, this is going to be a terribly unfair question, perhaps, but and it's not going to be who's your favorite player, but what do you admire? I wouldn't even ask that. I would know. As a parent, I would never put you in that position. Never. I mean, I have a favorite kid, but I'm not telling you who it is. So yeah, they'll be listening to this, both scratching their head, saying it's got to be me. Like I know it's it's me. No, it's me. No, it's me. Yeah. Anyway, I love them both dearly, and I'm so proud of them. But Linda, what do you admire most about the kids' games? All 3 of them. What part of Matthew's game, Jessica's game, and Stephanie's game do you step back as a player and a parent and say, "Wow, that's really their thing"? What is their signature shot or signature characteristic within the game of pickleball that you admire as their mom the most?
People don't lob Matthew very often. His vertical jump is I don't know, 3 to 4 feet high, and he can just get right up there and do a smash, turn it sideways, whatever he wants. In the air, he determines where he's going to hit it. So like if people move over there, he'll go this way. So that's his shot. Jessica, if you've ever seen her, she almost does the splits. People go, she's doing the splits. She's not doing the splits, but she gets really low to get those balls for over the net, and so people are amazed with that. Stephanie, deceptive. Stephanie's a left-hander. So she does inside out down the alley really well. She does her crosses really well, and people aren't used to lefties.
And a very unorthodox technique.
Mm-hmm.
As a coach I say I would never teach someone how Steph plays.
So it's the unexpected on the other side of the net because you don't expect 10 shots.
So when you run a clinic, do you bring her in, Matthew, and say, we've got a special guest on how not to play pickleball today? So yeah. So I want you to watch this for 5 minutes. I want you to forget about it. Just don't ever do this. Yeah, it works for her, but it will not work for most of us. So
she actually helped with a demonstration with the Ottawa Pickleball Association a few weeks ago, and I did say I would not teach people how to hit like her.
I love you, sis, but no, this isn't pretty. Yeah. Well, that's okay. She's leading by example. Maybe not in the way that you normally would interpret that, but she's leading by example. So, yeah. Well, that's really terrific. Well, that's just great. Yeah. It's I think it's funny. We all seem to sort of have that comfortable shot, that our go-to shot, if you will, the one that we rely on the most and the one that we count on the most. So, yeah, that's really great. So, well, thanks for all of that. Matthew, where do you see the game going in the next couple of years? We talked briefly about, or at least touched on it, about the soft game kind of disappearing. I'd like to spend a bit of time with all of you, get all four of your insights into, from the day that you started this, Linda, you came off the tennis court, what's been the most fundamental change to the game? Has it been the third shot drop kind of being less and less of a predictable outcome to the serve return? And I'd love each of your perspective on that, if you don't mind. Linda, do you want to start maybe with that?
Yeah, so that's huge. But Jessica and Matthew, if you watch them, they still do a lot of third shot drops. Because they're so consistent with it, it gets them to the net right away. Whereas your drive, it comes back, then you have to do a fifth shot drop, right? I mean, but so yes, I see that.
I'd say in rec play, you might see people driving more, and especially coming from tennis or other racket sports, they just want to hit the ball. Maybe they're not as smart either, or haven't thought about the strategy. For our game, as just said, we're more consistent players. We're not as much aggressive players, so we rely on the third shot drop a lot more, but it depends on your own skill set and the skill set of the opponents. If they can handle the drive really easily, then why keep driving? But if they can't, then yeah, even though we're not as comfortable doing that, we would have to change and probably play a few more drives. So I do agree that it's changing to a faster game, but if you're playing smart and adjusting to who's on court, then the soft game is still super, super important.
Boy, do I ever love hearing you say that. That almost makes up for the Wiffle comment. No, because I think, Matthew, what I'm seeing, and I've been at it about 3 years, and I think Stephanie mentioned watching on TV, and I think a lot of us do watch a fair bit of the game, obviously, and what I see happening is your Monday morning rec player coming in, having spent the weekend watching the pros play, and coming in and deciding they're now a pro. And so, they're driving that thing. And I think if most of us on the other side of the net would simply step out of the way, that ball's going into a whole different postal code. I mean, it's leaving Kingston. It's on its way to Ottawa. We just got to let it go. Let it go. Shoulder high, let it fly, kind of thing. And I see so many people feeling that, oh, if I'm going to play like the pro, I've got to change my game. And and of course, the third shot drop, it's talked about and it's been part of the game forever. It's not an easy shot in certain situations. I mean, many of us rec players struggle with it, and none of us drill, because that's, you don't need to drill to be good. So, I think you see a lot of rec players struggle with the drop shot, generally short, or, they pop it up or whatever the case may be. So I think they revert to the drive because the other side of the net tends to not get out of the way. And so then they their brain goes, hey, this is working. Like, I'm hitting this guy in the chest, or you're being body bagged like Jessica did to you on the green. And so I think there's a misunderstanding about, I'm a rec player, I'm changing my style, and it's working. It's working. Well, it's not really working. And it would work for about a half a second against anybody on the screen today, except me. Yeah, it's like, what are these people thinking? So to hear you echo that today is important. So yeah. Jessica, is that drop shot still an important part of your arsenal as well? I mean, it's there and you're using it.
For sure. I've actually been working on my drives lately, but I default to a third shot drop. And I was going to say, when we were talking about all of the soft game, way back when, like 10 years ago, we used to play with a ball called a jug. I don't even know if you would have ever heard of it or played with it, but it was so soft. It was like a squishy ball almost. And it's why the game was such a soft game, because it's so soft and slow that the ball doesn't come up very high. And if you're going to attack it, it's staying really low. You're hitting really far up. So the game
and it's slow.
And it's slow, yeah. So it was back then basically just a dinking game. It was a matter of who can dink the longest without messing up. But with like the technology and the balls nowadays, the game's gotten so much faster.
Yeah, and we're going to get into some of that too before we let you go today for sure, because I'd love your insight into that. I've never heard of that. Can you say the word again? Is it jug? Like Jug? A jug ball?
Yeah.
Really? Was it the same size as the current ball that we play with today?
Mm-hmm.
It was green.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh. Boy, I need to do my homework before I do these podcasts. That one went right over my head, like literally. It did. Yeah, I'd never heard of that. So I'll have to look into that.
I still use them for coaching kids because they're such a
Sure.
low ball that it's easier for them to hit the ball.
Yeah, for sure. Interesting. Wow. Well, let's jump from that then into technology and changes to the game, and certainly the ball, the paddle. I think, and one of the questions I'd like to ask each of you as well is what concerns you today? We were talking earlier in the conversation with Linda about the beginnings in 1965, and I'm a really big fan of keeping the integrity of things intact, and whether that's a family, which is important to me, critically important, or a game that I love, I think I worry a bit about losing some of the integrity in the game. And as the sport grows and more money starts to come into the game and things start to change and people see profit opportunities, and what's the biggest concern that the four of you have about the future of the game that we all love so much? And Linda, do you want to maybe kick that off for us?
Well, I mean, the way the paddle's going right now, I mean, they're getting really expensive, but the power coming off some of them, at least engage. We like the engage paddles because they're consistent with respect to power and control. So, I mean, it's been a really good paddle for us. People have suggested trying some of the other paddles, but they're almost dangerous. Some of the speed that's coming off.
They are dangerous, yeah.
Right? So I don't know where the governing body is that's going to control that before it gets carried away and someone gets really hurt. I mean, I'm sure people have gotten hurt already, right, because of the speed that's coming off. I don't know. You guys add to that?
Yeah, I've had some people who, there's an engaged dealer in Ottawa who's come up to me and said, "What paddle do you use?" Some of the players want to use the paddle you're using, and I'm like, I've switched to this to get more power for my game for the pro game, but I would highly suggest this other paddle that has more control, because those players need control more than anything. But if they're just going for paddles that the pros are using and have more power, it is too dangerous. And it's going to take away from the soft game. Like, people wanted, the Ottawa Pickleball Association does a lot to promote the soft game and teach the overall game of pickleball, not just the banging. But then players have such a hard time doing it because they're all getting the new paddles that have so much power. So,
Jessica, what are your thoughts on all this, and what concerns you, if anything, about the game? I mean, it's not so much a question that you have to answer, but is there anything about the future of the game that you're kind of maybe watching with one eye and wondering, gee, I hope we don't go down that rabbit hole. That might not be a good place for the game to go today.
I'm going to change gears slightly, and less about the technology and equipment, but more as my concern is as the game grows and there's more money involved, it's such a game about calling your own lines that you already see it at tournaments and you see it, but I feel like you're starting to see it more and more where, oh, that ball was out, but it was this far in, but there's no one to contest it. And a lot of the times the other team can't do anything about it and the call will stand, right? So I think those kinds of things are going to be more concerning as the game grows.
That's such a great point. Yeah, I talked earlier this week with a gentleman who was talking about the importance of AI, coming into the game at some point, and specifically for that, perhaps. And he was talking about possibly, building sensors into the courts and, smartwatches and different things that are coming. But we all see it. We see it at the rec level, and there's always that guy, and his name's usually Bob. I don't know why, but Bob. It's like, come on, Bob. Like, it was so in. Like, come on, and yeah, it does get you. I can't imagine when there's the amount of money on the line and the sponsorship and the endorsement and how important it becomes at that level, the most elite level in the game, how, when you're up against a bad line call, it's infuriating. So great point. I'm really glad you went there. Yeah. Stephanie, what are you thinking about with respect to the
Well,
future of the game?
I was just going to add on to that. You always hear in rec play, someone will say, "Oh, that was tournament out." And that makes me so angry because there should be no, if you have integrity, there should be no difference between out in a
Yeah.
rec team and out in a tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm so
Well,
proud of my kids. My kids are very honest with calls. Matthew sometimes, well, I mean, the rule is if it's close, it's in.
yeah, that's
And I
right.
know Matthew has had partners that are not happy with his calls, but Matthew's very good with respect to if it's close, it's in. And some of the higher ones, as you say, it's getting to the point that we could see that it was in. Why are you calling it out? And but I mean, we
Yeah.
know some of those players, right? And they have a
Yeah.
reputation now, which is sad.
Well, I was going to say, Linda, I can certainly speak for myself, and I'm certainly for you as well, and all of you that are on the screen today. I'm sure we can put our head in our pillow at the end of the day and feel good about that. And when someone's playing that way, they know that. I mean, it's I mentioned golf was sort of my primary sport, and I used to play with a lot of guys that after the hole, you'd say, "Hey, what'd you get?" And usually it was Bob again. This Bob guy gets everywhere. And, and Bob would say, "Oh, I think I got a 6." And I go, "Well, geez, Bob, you were 3 off the tee, 2 in the pond, 1 in the woods, and now you putted 4 times. So I think you're 13." "Oh, that's right." I "Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that." I'm like, How could you possibly say 6?" Like, if you're gonna lie with some integrity. Like, maybe say like, but I often wonder because I would think about Bob. He's driving home in his car and he knows darn well he didn't shoot 83, shot 183, and I don't know how he reconciles that. And so I don't think there's a sport in the planet, where really there isn't an opportunity. And Jessica, it's a great point you've made. Like, it's a self call, right? We've got to trust it. We're not even on the opposing side of the net supposed to weigh in on that conversation. It's like, well, what did you guys see? And Linda, you're right. If they don't know what they saw, then it's in. Then it goes our way. And yeah, I hope that I hope we find a way around that. I worry about AI a little bit about putting us all out of work, but I also think there's some benefit to certain things like this and line calls and that kind of thing. So yeah, interesting stuff. Well, Matthew, I also don't want to miss the point today to talk about the Ottawa Pickleball Association, because it really was through them and through Diana that I connected with you. And I don't want to miss that point. I want to thank her publicly. So thank you, Diana, for listening and for connecting me. And please keep connecting me. I'm looking for great guests. So, my number is open. Call me anytime. But she's been wonderful. And her and I will sit down. I'm a little worried about her energy level though. Like, she is way up here. Like, I'm pretty energetic. I'm not sure I can keep up to her. So I may need a Red Bull for that interview. I just don't know where to go with that. But
She's excited to go on here.
yeah, well, she's hooked me up with Dr. Colin Campbell, who's doing some things with the club, to talk about injury prevention, that sort of thing. So that'll be a fun chat as well. But she's been just terrific. So tell me about that organization, how it fits into your life and what you're doing. And yeah, run with that for a few minutes for me.
That organization has been around for 12 or 13 years. So it started well before most people knew pickleball, and they do a really good job teaching the soft game. So my job as the head pro is to do assessments for the club. So we have 650 or 700 members now, and for all the players who sign up for leagues, we go around in September for 3 weeks, and then in January again for 3 more weeks to just balance out the levels and make sure all the players are playing at level. We also do clinics, skill sessions to encourage people learning the skills and drilling, so they have time to put the skills into use. But I would say most of the players just want to play leagues and play at their level versus putting in the practice. There might be 10% of the people, 20, who want to do drills, which is probably the most important part if they want to get better.
Yeah. Yeah. But the organization Diana speaks very fondly of it, and she speaks about the integrity of it. And yeah, she rules it with an iron fist, I think. And I think that's good. I think she loves the game. You can tell just by I've had a chance to be on the phone with her twice over the last month or so and setting up the podcast and looking for great guests, which of course, thank you all for being here again. It's been wonderful so far. And she's just such a passionate part of the game, and we just need more and more of that. I think she's good for the game. The organization's good for the game. And the fact that you're testing those players, and here's a quick question for you, Matthew. What happens when you come to me and I think I'm a 4-0, but you tell me I'm a 2-3? Like what, like how delusional are certain people? And I don't want you to mention names, but you can maybe drop Bob's name in here because I'm sure he's that guy again. But poor Bob, he's getting beat up this morning. But do you find that there are players that really just aren't quite seeing their game? And is that a difficult conversation for you to have at certain times?
There are quite a few players who want feedback, which is really hard to do with that many people getting assessed. Sure. A lot of times, if they don't meet the level that they're playing at, we'll give them a written warning. So it's my job to write up the assessment, say, these are the parts of your game that you're lacking. We'll come back in 3 or 4 weeks, come to see you again. And if you're meeting it, then you can stay. If not, then we'll have to move you down. But They do get a warning. So then they have time to work on it as well.
Wow. Yeah. But that news is probably not generally well taken, because I think if I see one thing at our club, it's kind of like, I used to have this in golf too. I play with a guy who says, oh yeah, I hit one 300 yards the other day. And I'm like, you have no idea. Like you probably failed grade 12 math. You did not hit that more than 240. But, I think there are certain players in pickleball that certainly have an impression of their game that doesn't match. And I don't think it helps them. And I don't think it's good for the game. So I love what you're doing there. I think it's, maybe some difficult conversations at times. And maybe there are players that are underestimating. I'm sure it goes both ways. Like I say to you, oh, I'm a 3.2. And you go, geez, Mike, really? I think you're at least a 3.3. Like, like, I just think there are times when we probably underestimate our ability and perhaps times we overestimate. So it's really great to hear a club taking that kind of initiative. I think it just serves the game better. So yeah, that's really great stuff.
I would say I see probably a 75% to 25% of people who see their game that they think they're better than they are, and then the people who they're that small percentage who don't think they're as good, but they're the ones who get benefited in the end.
Yeah. Linda, in all the traveling that you've done, do you see different level? Go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to say one thing for Ottawa Pickleball Association.
Sure.
I know Jessica and Matthew have done demos, and Matthew did a demo not that long ago for fundraising for food bank.
Mm-hmm.
I think they do that quite often, and it just
once or twice, 2 or 3
I
times
just
a
think
year,
it's a really good thing to say on behalf of the Ottawa Pickleball Association. So.
Yeah, it's great. Well, we volunteered at a food bank in Kingston for a while. Boy, there's that food insecurity is a whole new podcast. I mean, it's so the work that those food banks are doing it's critical, and to see pickleball get, and again, it's pickleball, right? Yes, it's the Ottawa Pickleball Association, but without pickleball, there isn't that. So we go back to 1965, and we're seeing so many charity tournaments. I talked to a gentleman, a voice within the industry in the States called Jim Kloss. He's a pretty controversial pickleball analyst, and his wife was diagnosed with MS a few years ago. So they run an annual tournament to raise awareness and raise funding for MS. And it's really nice to see pickleball becoming part of the charitable part of, the world in general. And I think it's only going to get better and better. So yeah, that's all really terrific. So, well, listen, I don't want to take up a whole lot more of your time. I loved all of this, but I do have some parting questions, and I wouldn't mind each of you offering up your best tip for the average player. And it doesn't necessarily have to be shot specific. It could be from the mental side of the game. It could be from the warm-up side of the game. It could be from the drilling side of the game. It could be, this is not a game for you, move on. But, you're not going to figure this out. Forget it. Yeah. Take your pool cue and move on. Yeah. But Linda, what would you say you'd offer up to someone that's sort of just kicking around the local courts, loving the game, but, kind of thinks they'd like to get a bit better? What in your experience in traveling around, would you say this is really probably what most players miss?
Have fun while you're trying to grow your sport, right?
Try
to grow your game.
I love that you echoed that today, Linda. I think it's probably the best piece of advice, because there's a lot of advice out there, but sometimes we forget it is a game to have fun with. So that's great. Yeah.
But I also want to say, even at a high level, if you seem serious, it doesn't mean that you're not having fun. Because I have a friend who says, oh yeah, the fours, they're not having fun. You don't hear them laughing. I have fun playing competitively.
Sure, but you're in there to win.
Yeah. You're not the hoo-ha and laugh, except if you get a netball. Hoo-ha,
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I think it's okay if you get body bag ernied by your sister. That's one thing I'll pass on. It is all about having fun, though. I love giving back to the sport. I love playing with my friends who are 3-5, 4-0s. I love playing with the family. It might not be as challenging, but it's always a lot of fun. Yeah.
Good. I love it. Yeah. Jessica, what would you offer on that comment?
I think I'd say, well, this is coming from a personal thing, but find balance. My boyfriend got into the sport maybe a year and a half ago, and as with a lot of people, he got obsessed and then went too far. He's recovering from an injury, so find the right balance of like pickleball and other things, but yeah, have fun doing it.
That's really nice. Yeah, I took I took off. I planned to take some time. I had just a nagging shoulder issue. It wasn't anything serious, but enough that it was bothering me. And so we ended up doing a road trip. My wife and I, when we retired a couple years ago, our dream was just to get in the truck, throw the dog in the back, in the back seat of the truck, and drive across Canada and take in some of this wonderful country. And so we did that. We drove all the way across the country twice almost in the last few years. And so I got away from the game for a bit. The shoulder started feeling better. So I was away from the game for about, almost 15 or 16 months. I didn't pick up a paddle. And I've come back to the game now in the last several months. And I'm playing better than ever, by my standard, whatever that means. I'm playing better than ever. But I think it took I just needed to clear out some garbage in my head because I was playing 6 hours a day, 5 days a week. I was doing what your boyfriend, I think, was doing. And it ended up hurting me. And it ended up taking a bit, to Linda's point, some of the fun out of the game. And I was playing some regional tournaments. I did some True North tournaments. I stood in the podium with a guy and we hugged each other and embraced and, kissed our medals. And, I had some fun with all of that. But I think I hit a point where I was missing the essence of the game. And so great point that both you and your mom have made about all that. And don't take it too seriously. And Stephanie, where do you weigh in on all of that? What would your advice be to either a rec player or a new player coming into the game?
I would say just try new things. It's really easy to get stuck in the things you're good at. I'm really good at this
Right.
shot, so I'm just going to hit this shot. But there are so many different shots. There are so many different strategies. So just try something new. It may work, it may not, but there's no harm in trying.
Oh, that's great. Well, that's been enlightening. And listen, of all the people on the screen, I think the one making the biggest difference, Stephanie, is you. I mean, I think you're dealing with the kids and I often say that to keep it in the spirit of things here, but it's just a game. We're just hitting a wiffle ball. We're not changing the world. We're having fun, but what you do in that classroom, I think is very impactful. I don't want to miss that point with you today. So you may not be on the CNPL, but you're making a difference out there. So I appreciate that. It's teachers and coaches are so important to the kids. I know my two boys turned out the way they did in large part due to the experience that they had at high school and the coaches and all of that. So yeah, it's great that we've kind of wrapped up this part of the conversation talking about the game. It's not, we are not saving the world. We're making it better for our world. And we're, and yes, for the broader sense of pickleball. But I think sometimes people do get into it a little too serious. So it's great that you've all echoed a bit of that this morning. Yeah, just terrific. Was there anything, I've got one final thing at the end, but was there anything that any of you wanted to touch on today? Because I've got two favors to ask before we part ways here this morning, but I want to give you each a chance to offer anything else that you think maybe I didn't think about or has been kind of weighing in the back of your mind this morning.
People always ask me how to get better. And I mean, everything takes time. So you have to invest the time. I see some people who go out and drill and they don't necessarily know how to drill properly. There are times where you can get the reps in, but then there are other times where how do you get that into a progressive mode where you're now you're still drilling, but putting it into a game-like situation versus just going from reps to games, right? So it's that middle ground. And I mean, you don't have to put in as much time as me, but sometimes I'll put in a few hours for a shot that I know I'm only going to hit once in a game, right? Maybe not even. So put in the time. People switch. I see sometimes they go out and drill 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes, 5 minutes on different things. And it's like, yeah, you're not really getting the touches in.
Yeah. Practice with purpose, I guess, is kind of maybe what you're saying in a sense, right, Matthew? I mean, I think we all, even the warm up, I get a kick out of it. I'll see some people come in with their Starbucks coffee and their, apple fritter, and they'll jam that into themselves, gulp down their coffee, come out and go, all right, I'm ready. I'm good to go. I'm like, are you going to warm up? No, I just did. Like, I just did. I'm good. I'm like, okay. Yeah. Cause the injury side of it can take you out for weeks, if not months, if not an entire season. So yeah, it's great, but practice with purpose and maybe warm up a little more might be two good things to think about. Yeah, for sure. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. Linda, congratulations on all of this. I mean, parent to parent, I got to tell you, these kids are amazing. Like, don't tell them that because they've already got enough going on there. They're already rock stars in the game of pickleball. So don't tell them I said that. But you got to be so proud as a mom, and I just know how proud I am of my boys. And to see you guys all together today, and there's obviously just a high level of love and respect for the game and for one another. And this has been just such a treat for me. I just really congratulate you on all you've done. It's been terrific.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am very proud. We are. My Tom and I are very proud of our kids, and I mean they are well respected
Yes.
by fellow players, which is really
Yeah.
it's good. They're nice kids. They're honest kids, and yeah,
Yeah.
we are very proud of them and their
Yeah.
talents too.
Well, there's that little part of it too, right? They're really friggin' good at this. Yeah, like I don't mind saying it. You're really good at this. So, yeah, it's good. It's good for the game, and I think Barney McCallum and his group would be so proud to see this type of a situation. I think they would just this is everything that they were hoping for, all those years ago. And so I applaud all of you for being an important part of the integrity of the game and the brand of the game and the equity within the game. So please keep doing everything you're doing.
One more thing. Whenever we get together as a family, we always play pickleball. It's something we love to do together. For mental training, stick to your strengths. So mom likes to win, and mom always goes after us with tough shots that she wants to challenge us.
But I always lose.
One of her biggest strengths is an aggressive cross-court ding that pushes people off the court. But when she gets in this mindset that she wants to beat us, she just goes at us. And I mean, yeah, we love it. She's probably not going to win the fast game against us. But yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
But she likes to get into the firefight. Let's go, you two.
Yeah.
Well, you know what though, Matthew, in all fairness to her, I'll defend her as a parent here because, my kids are 28, 25. I mentioned that before, but in my brain, like, David's 9, Adam's 7. So when I'm across, I'm like, I can beat this kid, I think well, no, but I think parents kind of get into this time zone sort of, this time capsule where our kids kind of get frozen in time. We don't realize I'm probably not going to win this arm wrestle here. I'm going to lose. There was a point in time I could pick both boys up, one in each arm, and walk out the room with them. But if I tried that today, I'd throw my back out. So yeah, it's great. Well, this has been great. Listen, here are my two favors. My favor number one is, could I please, I'm going to stay in touch with you over the next little while, the next year and a half, 2 years, whatever. And I hope the podcast keeps going. I hope I find some traction and some success with it. But if I do, I would love to have you all back and more at some point down the road for a catch up. If this has been okay for you, it's certainly been thrilling for me. So I'd like a rain check to do this again one day, if that's not too much to ask.
That'd be great.
That'd be great. Sure. And then the other thing is, if we ever find ourselves on a court, I would love to play against each of you, but this is the paddle that you have to use. So, okay. So I'm just trying to give myself at least a fighting chance. Okay. So it's technically a coaster. My wife picked this up for me when I set up the podcast too. It's kind of cute. So yeah. So if you're willing to play with this, I'm willing to play with you. How's that sound? Fair?
It's great.
Yeah, I'll do it.
All right, I'm 59. I got some miles on me, so I think this. Yeah, and depending on how the first 2 or 3 points go, I may ask you to switch dominant hands. So if you're actually still winning, which you probably will be,
he's actually pretty ambidextrous.
Yeah, be careful with that.
So it won't help much with him.
Yeah, that's not good.
I can't hit anything with my right hand.
No, I'm terrible. But he'll play left-handed and have good games with 4 or 5s.
Isn't that something? I love it. Yeah. Well, listen, this has been beyond exciting, and I'm really honored to be a small part of this story. And we're going to do our part here to spread the news and put lots of show notes in here for information about the Ottawa Pickleball Association, of course, and the league and all of that great stuff. So thank you all for being here today and your time. You've been so generous, and it's been a real pleasure meeting all of you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mike, for
Mike.
asking us.